concrete walls. There's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
Oh, yeah. That's my music. That's my jam. That's my jam, you guys. What's up? Do you want to follow? What's up, everybody? I'm Joshua Bardwell. You're going to learn something today. We're going to have some fun. It's Monday night. It's time to stream. It's time to Q&A stream. And Ronnie Renkun, good morning from Indonesia. Ronnie, you got this is the America stream, Ronnie. I do it 8 o'clock on Monday nights for the American time zone. But Ronnie, you're welcome here. Anybody who is up late is welcome here. Anybody who's whatever time it is where you. Let me ask you this in the chat: who is up the latest or earliest right now in your time zone? It's 8 o'clock at night for me. I got nothing going on, but because I do the streams on Sunday at 1 p.m. for to make it easier for the overseas people. I see some people telling me it's time to go watch football. Is it football season? Ho operator, my 1-year-old was dancing to your music. Does my heart good, man. Does my heart good. 5 p.m., 8 a.m., walkie-talkie FPV, it's 8 a.m. Is that early? It's 2 a.m. in Spain. I'm going to give the Sergio's doing good. 2 a.m. in Germany. 2 a.m., 2 a.m., 1 a.m., 3 a.m., Paul Park. 3 a.m. See, here's a weird thing that happens because everybody would agree that at 1 a.m. you're staying up late, but at 8 a.m., did you get up early, or who's working the hardest? The person who's up at 3 a.m. or the person who's up at 7 a.m.? Guess it depends on when you went to bed, huh? Anyway, what's up, you guys? We're going to do some questions. We're going to do some answers. But before we do that, I'm going to get into a little bit of news of the day, just to let the stream kind of get rolling. And here's the first piece of news of the day. What's this? Oh, it's just such a nice screen that I got No. Whoopam! This literally came in the mail today. Actually came DHL. Today. So for those of you who have been... Somebody commented on my YouTube channel today and said, haven't seen your review of the Fat Shark Byte Frost. Says a lot that you haven't reviewed it. It just says that I didn't get it yet. And unlike DJI, where DJI was hesitant to send me one, and I actually had that confirmed. I won't say how I had that confirmed, but they were like, no, it wasn't just that they overlooked you. They were just a little worried you'd be hard on it. DJI, for the record, I bought a DJI kit when it first came out because they didn't send me one. And I was like, all right, I don't care. I'll buy one. And then afterwards, they were like, oh, we probably should have sent Bardwell one. They did send me one. So I have two now, for the record. But Fat Shark has always been real good to me. Yes, that is just the screen protector. Take it easy. Let's do the peel. Take it easy. Whoa. So you can see on the bench over my shoulder, look right there. That is literally a quad that I have been scrambling to put the Byte Frost into like this afternoon to try and to get some content made for you guys as soon as possible. But that's it. Peter Piccolo, I'm going to assume your comment was said. Peter Piccolo says, DJI didn't send me stuff because I'm a dickhead. I'm going to assume you're saying that with love, Peter, and I'm going to let that comment go through. Yeah, why the screen, Fat Shark? And the real, I mean, the reason they have it in a screen, they wanted it in a module is what I heard, but they couldn't get good enough performance with only 2 radio modules, so they put it in the screen, and they got 4 modules, and it wouldn't fit inside a Fat Shark module. But the real question is, as long as you're sticking it in the screen, why not put it in the freaking, what's the thing? You know, the Transformer, the Fat Shark Transformer goggles. Why not make it so I could wear it in the Transformer goggles? No, it has to be a ground station. All right. The screen, this is OCD FPV. This is the Fat Shark Byte Frost receiver unit. It's a ground station with a screen that you plug HDMI into your goggles. This is the Byte Frost. There is no Byte Frost Fat Shark module. 3D printed adapter, Kyle K? Yes, indeed. 3D printing is on my radar. I'm whole hog, guys. I'm going in. And let's talk a little bit about 3D printing. I talked about it on the stream yesterday, and so I have a couple of 3D printers that I'm looking at in the, seems to me like about the $200 to $300 price range is where you can get a pretty solid 3D printer that you're not going to have to like kill yourself to do too much work getting it going, especially printing flex filament. And so I looked at a bunch of 3D printers in that price range. I actually reached out to one company and they agreed to send me one. And then I was like, I don't have to limit myself. If I'm not sure which 3D printer is the best, I'm just going to reach out to all of them and see if they'll send me one. What's the worst they could do? And when you have a YouTube channel with 100,000+ people subscribing, a lot of times $300 in product, companies are willing to send it to you. So I'm hoping I end up with like 3 or 4 3D printers. I'm going to document setting them all up. You know, if 6 months from now, you'll actually see the content because you know who I am. But Curtis Bangert says, don't get a shit printer. You'll pay for it twice before you get it upgraded enough. That's kind of the point, though, Curtis. Let's see. If I could get like my buddy in Knoxville who does 3D printing, he works off of a $150. I think it's a Prusa, but it's a cheap version, open source version of a Prusa, and he gets great prints off of it. So if you could get a great out-of-the-box experience just by spending money, that doesn't make great content, and not everybody has money to spend. But I'd love to see what you could get from a cheaper printer and try to get good results from it. So anyway, I'll let you guys know a little teaser. I spoke to Brent Collier of BMC 3D, and I said, Brent, would you do an interview with me where we sit down and we talk about how to pick a 3D printer and which one of these ones you think I should get? And he said he'd do it. So I'm going to be hopefully doing that this week and get that out to you guys. Very much looking forward to that. So, Prusa. Siler FPV, Prusa. Yeah, the Ender 3 cannot be overlooked. Here's the thing, though, and we're kind of getting out of the news of the day and getting into the Q&A, but that's what I do. The Ender 3 is so popular. So many people use it, but at the same time, it doesn't seem like it actually has the most value for the dollar these days. Maybe I'm wrong. Well, anyway, I'm going to talk to Brent Collier and see what he has to say, etc. Okay, more news of the day. More news of the day. I want to show you guys this build. I just finished this build, and I'm super proud of it. I did not do the build on my channel. I just said, screw it. I'm just going to sit down and build and relax instead of recording content all the time. I am going to be doing a build of this frame soon, but this is the Catalyst Machine Works. It looks like the Smooth Operator, doesn't it? But it's actually, they took my... I think it was mostly me. I don't know. I don't want to give myself too much credit. I complained about the Smooth Operator. I really liked so many things about it, but it was so hard to maintain and it was so tight. It was like, I was like, this is not the kind of freestyle frame I want. So this is the Bang God, and it's basically just a Smooth Operator, but you can see that it's got a 2-deck design. It's got a little more room on the inside. It's easier to get to. I'm super looking forward to that, getting that in the air. I will show you. Here is a look at the frame over on Catalyst Machine Works site. And they named it the Bang God because Neil Whiteley got tired of Banggood cloning their frames and not even changing the name. So he named it this, just even ripped off their logo. So he was like, all right, screw you, Banggood. I'm going to rip you off. So I think that's really clever. Okay, one more thing that I want to mention. And I don't go out of my way to, like, plug Rotor Riot stuff because I don't want you guys. I like being on Rotor Riot. I like the Rotor Riot guys. I like making content with them, but I don't want anybody to think that, like, oh, I'm just like pushing their products. So I actually kind of go out of my way not to push their products. But this cannot be overlooked. This is the new Cricket motor. It's a 2306.5. Who cares? That's legit real 24 karat gold plating. And when Cricket showed me these motors a couple months ago, and I was like, are you kidding? That's so, oh my God, is that not the blingest motor I've ever freaking seen? And it's legit 24 karat gold too. Yeah. And I wanted to show you guys this. Check this out. Look how good the guy who does the photography for Rotor Riot. This is Scarecrow FPV is his handle. He's J.R. Pellegrini is his name. Is that not the most badass thing? How do you think he did that? Look at that smoke coming up there. That's badass. Anyway. All right. So, news of the day. Kyle K, I know. It's gold plating is like, there's microscopic amounts of gold on there, but it looks badass, and it's super cool to be able to say he has, I think that's the first. Isn't that, that's right. You're right, License to Drive, cigarette behind the motor. That's how they did the smoke. I think it's the first motor with legit 24 karat gold on it. Is it? So, cloning? No? First time? Anyway. Let's get on with the Q&A. Here's what's going on, guys, in case you're new here. And if you're new here, welcome. Betty Musics is here. Betty Musics is the spammer for last time. Betty Musics, it's real simple, dude. If you spam the chat, I'm just going to block you from the channel. It's very simple. You're welcome to be here. You're welcome to chat. You're welcome to participate. But if you're an asshole, I'm just going to kick you out and get on with my night. Cool. Here's what's going on, guys. Random chaos. TBS will release one and claim they did it first. I didn't say that. You said that. Up here is the chat. These are all the plebs in the regular chat. Yesterday somebody said I never answer questions from the plebs, so I've decided to just own it and call you guys plebs. These are the plebs, all the free people. If you want your question answered, put it in the chat. I will do my best to answer them, but they go by so fast I can't answer them all. If you want to make sure I get to your question, hit the $sign right down here. I don't know why my $sign has disappeared, but anyway, hit the $sign right down there. Send me a super chat, and I will make sure to get to your question almost 100% of the time. Over here on the left, this is my Discord server. If you want to join my Discord server, that you got to become a patron. The link to my Patreon is down in the video description below. Join the Patreon. You can join the Discord server, and you can get in here with all these guys. Hello, Nimbus FPV, Rick, Steve Maslick. Good to see you, buddy. Chamber is here. Chamber lives in Knoxville with me. Chamber was in the hospital with me the day I was having my son. No, he wasn't. His wife was also having a baby that exact same day. So his kid and my kid should be like birthday buddies or something. I don't know. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Let's start with a question. Let's start with a question. What do we got here? Let's get a question in the chat. Traco6 asks, if I don't have a pair of nice goggles and I'm looking to get some, should I just invest in the DJI system? I'm currently rocking the 800Ds. Traco6, this is a very, very tough question, because if you already have a $500 set of HDOs, then the Fat Shark Byte Frost is only another like $400. That's a pretty compelling value proposition. Whereas if you switch to DJI, you got to start over from scratch, and that sucks. But if you don't have any Fat Shark goggles at all, then DJI, like, you spend, it makes a lot more sense, doesn't it? So what the question you got to ask yourself is, what are the things that DJI doesn't do? We know what it does. It has great image quality, good range, just generally a really good user experience. By the way, this is the second build I've done with the DJI Air unit. It's so freaking easy to build because you buy these flight controllers that have a plug for the Air unit. And basically, the flight controller plugs into the Air unit. The flight controller plugs into the ESC. That's it. You're kind of done. It's like, wow. Just solder up the motors and go. So that's what the DJI offers, but what doesn't it do? If you have friends, they probably don't have DJI, and they won't be able to spectate you. That's a big deal. It's a big deal. It's really nice to have friends who can spectate you, and who you can just say, hey, check out this power loop I'm going to do. Check out this trick I'm going to do. Well, they can't do that if they don't have DJI. If you fly by yourself, meh. Fatal Paper Cut says, no way to push a signal to a monitor. The DJI goggles do have HDMI out through USB-C, but DJI has not made available to the public the adapter that lets you do that, and you can't do that with just a regular USB-C to HDMI adapter. So at this time, no. If you don't have DJI goggles, you can't see the signal. So the other thing about the DJI is it's not working on micros. You can get 3-inch quads with DJI in it, which shocked me, to be honest with you. But anything smaller than 3-inch, you just can't get it. So 2-inch, if you like toothpicks, if you like tiny whoops, not going to work with DJI. So those are the big things that might make you go, I'm going to stick with analog for now. Of those, and also you lose the OSD. Betaflight OSD, you don't have it. So like you can't arm your quad, and you want to know why? Tough. That's going to... Preston Garrison from Flight 1 tells me that is going to be fixed, that Flight 1 has Falco X, which is entirely configured via the OSD. So if DJI gets to be a big thing and it doesn't have OSD, that's a big deal. He says he's been working with DJI to get full Betaflight OSD support. That isn't there today, though. So I think it's a tough call. And of course, the money is the other thing. DJI is expensive, although if you're starting from scratch, it's not as much more expensive as you might think. So, I gotta say, if you are saying to yourself, I'm a beginner, I'm starting from scratch, and I have enough money to buy DJI, here's the thing. The more you fly with and this is true for every single person I know who's flown DJI, the more you fly it, the more you like it, and the less you enjoy flying analog. And since that's true, if you're starting from scratch, maybe the move is to just say, screw it. I'm just not going to fly a toothpick. I don't know. Or maybe I'm going to keep my EV200Ds and my EV800Ds for my analog. Anyway. All right. Enough about that. Buzz FPV, yes, you can. Lap timers absolutely can pick up the DJI system. The video transmitter is not frequency hopping. Right now, LiveTime doesn't have the exact frequencies in, and you can sometimes get missed laps, but it does work. I've tested it myself. I can 100% confirm it works. CN Britt wants to know if rapid fire would ever be possible for Skyo 3.0. I have been pushing SkyZone to just say, SkyZone, please, just... I know you like having your own modules built in. Just release a Skyo 3.0 with a module bay. Not this injection molded big lump sticking off the edge of the goggles adapter that they're trying to... I guess that's better than nothing. But just give me a Skyo 3.0 with a module bay and you will destroy the HDO. I'm not joking. I think it's better. I don't know if they'll do it. I wish they would do it. Donnie24FPV in the Discord. Donnie, thank you for being a patron. Are you going to make any videos on setup or settings for the Jumper T16? Absolutely, Donnie. I'm going to be converting over to the Jumper T16. I have a setup video already. Thank you, Steve Maslick, for linking to it in the Discord. I have a setup video for it already, but I will be documenting my process of transferring over. It's just going to take me time. I'm always doing 11 different things at once. And so things that should be relatively quick take a lot of time, because instead of I could sit down and just set up the jumper in an hour and be done. But if I want to make a video about it, I got to break it down. I got to making content is much, much slower. So let's see. Buzz FPV, it doesn't have stable latency, can't race, can't do fast gap proximity, can't put 6 pilots on a view screen for racing, can't judge if pilots miss a gate. Buzz or Biz FPV, you're wrong about a lot of that stuff, man. Stable latency, you're right. The DJI system does not have stable latency. When you're in a racing environment, though, the latency is pretty stable, although not perfect. When I had Evan Turner race my DJI, he did some laps with it. He said there were spots where he could feel it. He was still fast as hell. You absolutely can do fast gap proximity. You absolutely can do that. I mean, there's plenty of pilots flying it, doing proximity and proving that you can do it. As far as the issue for viewing screen, though, that is a big one. Well, I think one of DJI's angles here is that they are going to sell or lease or rent the hardware necessary to do events. So I think that these days where you just buy a security camera DVR and get 8 pilots on the screen, that's not going to happen with DJI, and that may be a limitation. The way I see DJI being integrated into racing, in my opinion, I don't think you're going to see like multi-GP IO doing it. But what you are going to see is DJI sponsoring races where they just say, "Welcome to the DJI race. Look how bad we are." And they just have their own racing league or something. We'll see. Monkey FPV in the Discord. Thanks for being a patron, Monkey. How about using DJI video and Crossfire? That's what I do on my rigs. The DJI transmitter is very nice, but I don't use DJI on all my quads, and I don't want to carry 2 transmitters with me. So all my quads are controlled by my regular transmitter and Crossfire or FreeSky or whatever, and then the video is DJI. TACMed, I asked a question to start the evening. You went right by me, and I'm brand new. TACMed, welcome. Thanks for being a patron, dude. My quad is drifting to the right. Betaflight shows 1,000 and 2,000 with 1,500 centered. So TechMed, the first question I have for you is, are you in auto level mode or acro mode? When your quad is drifting in acro mode, it probably means your channels aren't centered. But if you are channels centered, then maybe you're in auto level mode and your accelerometer isn't configured. Chainsaw FPV, thanks for the shout out, dude. Caden Hanna is asking about PID tuning. Chainsaw FPV, I appreciate the shout out. He says Joshua is the master of PID tuning. I got to tell you, I with all respect, hand that thrown over to Mark Spatz, UAV Tech on YouTube. Now, Mark Spatz is a great PID tuner. Actually, there are people out there who are way better at PID tuning than him. No offense, Mark. I'm sure he would agree. Those guys are over in the Black Box Log Analysis Facebook group. The Betaflight Black Box Log Analysis Facebook group. There's guys over there who are just like, they're Betaflight developers, basically, are just the masters of PID tuning. But what Mark Spatz is doing that I'm not is making videos. He's got a much more recent PID tuning series that you absolutely should check out. And, all right. Hang on one second, guys. Done. He's gone. He's just fantastic. He's doing great content about PID tuning, and you got to check him out. Juiced Van Orange, what of the three is the best controller? The FreeSky X9 Lite Pro, the Jumper T16, or the Taranis QX7? The X9 Lite Pro is a great controller if you like that game controller form factor. For me, at least, I don't really like I just get hand cramps when I do that, and I just don't like it. Between the Jumper T16 and the QX7, the QX7 is only about $100 and is a very, very good radio. The T16 is $160. I think the T16 brings a lot more to the table, but at the same time, it is way more expensive. It's $160. You guys, can I ask you, are you guys seeing the video stutter? Is that just me? I'm seeing in my little screen that I've got where I'm watching the video, it looks like it's stuttering, but you guys haven't mentioned it, so I wonder if you're not seeing it, and it's just me. Can you let me know? I'm going to keep an eye on the chat. No stutter, says OCDFPV. Thank you. It must be just on my end. I'm just going to pause that so it stops distracting me. Okay, thank you. Okay, that question gets 1,000 answers. Thank you, guys. Let me get some super chats out of the way. We've got some super chats coming in. Michael Harmon, thank you for $1. No question. Just thank you for $1, Michael Harmon. Seth Patton, thanks for $5. Anybody got their hands on a Hero 8? There is no such thing as a GoPro Hero 8. That was an April Fool's joke, I think, except it's not April. The GoPro is not making a Hero 8. Are you kidding me? That's the Hero 8. Oh, I'm sorry. No. I apologize. I got confused there. There's no Session. There's no Session 8. That was a joke I saw recently. The Hero 8 does exist and is coming soon. I don't know anybody who's gotten a hand on it. That's the GoPro Hero. The Hero 8 came out so fast after the Hero 7. But if it means that the Hero 7 gets cheaper, I'm all for it. Because Hypersmooth is bomb. Hypersmooth is good. Hypersmooth is good. So I hope that it makes the Hero 7s cheaper. Deaf Thief, thank you for $5. My Larva X feels slow on the sticks in all my quads. This is something I changed in Betaflight rates. Deaf Thief, the two things you need to do if your quad feels slow on the sticks is, number one, go to the receiver tab and make sure that when you deflect the sticks left and right, you get 1,000 to 2,000 on the channels. If you're not getting all the way to the end of the channel, then Betaflight won't feel that you're fully deflecting the stick. You need to adjust the channel endpoints to make the channel go 1,000 to 2,000. Then, if that's all correct, you can increase your rates. I would suggest just bumping up the RC rate until you get to a rate that you like. I suggest a rate of about 400 degrees per second for racing and between 600 and 900 degrees per second for freestyle, at least as a starting point until you start figuring out what you like. Yaman says in the pleb chat, my True DX stopped working while I was flying. All it does is blink the blue LED after I plug in the battery to the HDO. What might be the reason? Well, if it's blinking the blue LED, you know it's getting power. It just sounds like it died. You should reach out to Furious and tell them what happened and see if they'll cover it under warranty or something. I mean, that's all. I mean, it just... Here's the thing. I don't want to sound like I'm slamming Furious. Furious makes some good products, and they actually have innovated. Like when the True D came out, there were not a lot of people really pushing LaForge, and LaForge was kind of the leading Goggle module, and Furious started just saying, you know, we're going to try and beat you at that game. And some people feel that they did. At the same time, the hardware quality, the build quality of Furious's hardware it's not bad all the time, but sometimes it's bad. So if you had a True DX module just die, like if it was a rapid fire and you said it died out of the blue, I'd be like, whoa, oh, wow, that's really unusual. But if you tell me your True DX died out of the blue, I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm not too surprised. That happens sometimes. Not a lot, but so just to see if they'll cover it under warranty is the only thing I can say. Home and A, thank you for $2 Canadian. Sterling Youngman, thanks for $20. Oh, Sterling Youngman, thank you for that. That's a big donation. Had a crash, lost OSD. Let's see if I can answer your question now. Lost OSD, but I could still fly the quad. Subsequently replaced the flight controller, still have no OSD. Since none of the settings had changed, I expected it to show up. Could the lack of OSD be from a different component? Well, usually when you lose OSD, it means that the OSD chip on the flight controller is broken. But you replace the flight controller, so obviously that's not the problem. So then what else could it be? It could, I guess it could be the camera. The OSD has to sync up with the pulses, with the frames from the camera. And if the camera is outputting weird, like inconsistent frames or something, maybe that could be. Can you test it with another camera? Like another thing that causes you not to be able to see OSD is when you have the NTSC and the PAL setting not correct. But obviously your crash didn't change yourself from an NTSC to a PAL camera. Sterling Youngman in the chat says he replaced the camera too. Well, it's really not the video transmitter. The video transmitter doesn't screw up the OSD. You replace the camera and you replace the flight controller and you still don't see. Wow. I mean, Laughin says NTSC versus PAL mismatch, but a crash wouldn't do that. Here's the thing. Sterling, I would probably just go back to the beginning. Something, it doesn't add up here. So, like, default the settings on the flight controller. Just try, just go to the CLI and type defaults, and it'll reset it to defaults. Go into the OSD tab and try setting the NTSC and PAL setting manual. Actually, you know what? Do that first. If you have NTSC/PAL set to auto, try changing it manually to NTSC or PAL, and see if that brings it back. And then if that doesn't work, man, I would probably just start from scratch. Yeah. Ooh, Juzzle suggests you re-upload the OSD font. It's true, but then how could a crash have done that? The part that really confuses is that after the crash, the OSD disappeared. Ooh, Mr. Tux suggests that the crash destroyed the OSD chip on the old flight controller, and then on the new flight controller, the PAL NTSC setting is wrong. That's the direction I would go. Try changing the PAL NTSC setting manually. All right. Tachman, yeah, you have to adjust the endpoints in the transmitter. Mixer in the Discord wants to know, thank you for being a patron, Mixer. Speaking of FPS, have you ever had an issue on the RunCam Oscar edition where you had FPS drop during flight? No, I have not, but I've heard of this issue. The Oscar Leon RunCam Phoenix, people have told me that it like drops frames or the frames freeze up. I haven't experienced this myself. But I have heard of it. That's a really good looking camera. It does pretty poorly once the light gets low, but it's a good looking camera in the day. Trill wants to know in the pleb chat. Hello, plebs. Trill wants to know, what do you think is the minimum cost to get into FPV with a 5-inch drone and everything else, including tools? Trill, I think if you really push the budget, you could do it for about $500 or $600, maybe a little more. And before you go, oh, that's ridiculous. I could get an FPV for $300. Hold on. You could probably get a drone for $100. It wouldn't be a great drone, but you could do it. You could get a set of goggles for under $100. You get a transmitter. You could get a transmitter for like $40. Well, there you go. You're into the hobby for $250. You're not done yet. You need batteries. You need props. You need a soldering iron. You need a bunch of tools. You need a battery charger. You need a power supply for the battery charger. I think when you really get all said and done, you're going to be in the range of $500 or $600, especially if you don't just absolutely bargain basement the parts. So, and here's the other thing to say. So you get into the hobby and you've spent your $600 and you're like, yay, I'm happy. And I see this happen. Like, I'll get emails 2 or 3 times a year. My name's so-and-so. I'm a 14-year-old. I had a summer job. I saved up enough money to buy a drone. And now I'm scared to crash it because if I do, my parents won't give me any more money. If you can't, this hobby requires constant cash injections. So if you have $500 today to buy a drone, you better have $50 next month or $100 next month to replace all the stuff you're going to break or to start building your next drone. So, yeah. Skadoosh says $1,500 minimum for decent gear. Skadoosh, I think you're right. If you really are going to get like decent gear, I mean, I think you're in the range of about $1,300 to $1,500. You'll have good gear then. Like you'll have like a set of Fat Sharks. You'll have like a Tyrannus or a good radio that you can live with for a while. You won't have a Spectrum for $600, but you'll have a good radio. You'll have like a $300 or $400 quad, but maybe your first quad could be a $250 quad. That's fine if you build it yourself. That's a good quad, you know. But all this stuff adds up, and you're gonna yeah. Let's see here. Shamer says he's 32 years old, just bought a drone. He's scared to crash it. His wife won't let him buy another one. Sharp Pizza FPV in the Discord. Thank you for being a patron, Sharp Pizza. I normally fly 5-inch freestyle, but I'm going to be doing some volunteer video work. Would a Cinewhoop be the best way to go? Well, if you're going to be flying around people, you definitely want ducts. A ducted 3-inch like a Cinewhoop is an okay choice. You definitely should not fly 5-inch freestyle around people. Now, I know what you're thinking. I see you do that all the time at Rotor Riot videos. Yeah, that's different. We know. We're all, if Drew slams into Willie's ankle, everybody's just going to consider that kind of like a part of the game, right? But if you're doing work around people who don't fly, you want to be as safe as possible. A 3-inch Cinewhoop could be fine, or you could be looking at something like a Phantom or a Mavic. You know, if you want to do photography work, that's what you need. That's the right tool for the job. Wolfram in the Discord. Great question, Wolfram. Is it possible to change an SPI receiver on a Beta FPV HX100 from EULBT to FCC by reflashing? It's even easier than that. However, you have to be on a sufficiently late version of Betaflight. I happen to have an HX100 right here. Beta FPV sent it to me, and I haven't gotten to it. And it's been a little while. They're kind of probably annoyed at like feeling hurt that I haven't reviewed it. Sorry, Beta FPV. I apologize. But let's see what I got here. In the what version? Oh, this is 355. No, forget it. I don't think it's here in 355. Here in the configuration tab. Oh, it's got a serial-based receiver too. All right, forget it. This is not the quad I thought it was. Never mind. There is a SPI protocol, which is like FreeSky_LBT, and that makes it EU mode. So Wolfram, that's what you need to do. Ethan Johnson, am I going to review the GoPro Hero 8? Probably not, Ethan. As much as it would... Like, I didn't do a review of the Hero 7. I used the Hero 7, but, like, I did some videos about Hypersmooth to show what Hypersmooth was, you know, but I mean, what are you going to... I don't know. I mean, it's a GoPro. It's awesome. Yeah, that's just not the kind of review I like to make usually. Hello, UAV Tech. All right. Seth Patton, thanks for $2 in the super chat. Homan A, thanks for $5 Canadian in the super chat. And Flying Brian, thanks for $5. Here's some gas money to get you and Moon Man, that's a guy here in Knoxville, his name is Josh Moon, to Myrtle Beach to fly with us. Speaking of people here in Knoxville, I just want to take a second and do a shout out to my friend Jeff Simpson here. Jeff Simpson, he works at a company that makes memorabilia cups, and he made me this in his spare time. And it's so freaking cool. I love it. So thank you, Jeff, for that. Yeah, here's the thing about the GoPro 8. They changed so much about it. It doesn't fit. It's a different size, so it doesn't fit in the same mounts. And it doesn't have the removable cover, so you can't just slap on an ND filter like you could. I'm really disappointed about that, too. It's going to make me think, oh, maybe the DJI Osmo. Yeah. Any rumors on when 4.1 is going to finally release? Rabs FPV? No, I mean, they posted to their Facebook page, the Betaflight devs posted with a little bit of an apology of saying, hey, you know, we understand there's a delay. It'll be out when they think all the glitches are out of it and when it's ready to go. And there's just no way to predict when that'll be. Just one day it'll drop. We know it's going to be as soon as it's ready. That's the bottom line. Tank FPV in the pleb chat says, new build feels like a boat when turning. Same builds and PIDs and rates as my other quads. Tank FPV, has it the same size and weight? That's the first question I have for you there. Let me know in the chat. We'll see if I see your answer. Our T-Motor F60 Pro, 2207, 2350 kV, any good for freestyle. Tobias Boone, to me, so first of all, T-Motor, are you sure you meant to type 2350? Are you sure you didn't mean 2450? The 2450 kV would be a 2207, 2450 kV would be a great freestyle motor. There's nothing to complain about there. If you really have a 2350, it probably will be fine, but I would prefer 2450, just a little bit more power. Citrus FPV asks in the pleb chat, what are the main differences between the new 2019 Tyrannus models and the older ones? I want to refer you to this video of mine. Hang on, I'm going to paste it in the chat for you. It's titled, What is the Access Protocol? I'm pasting it in the chat right now. Citrus FPV. The main thing that the new 2019 FreeSky radios bring to the table is the access protocol. And you should watch that video and ask yourself whether you feel like that is worth switching. Because when you switch, you do give some things up. For example, the new radios don't support the D8 protocol. So any micro quads you have with a D8 receiver, you can do it. You just need an external module to put into the module bay. That's pretty annoying. And the other things that there are some other things it brings to the table that are kind of nice, but I'm not sure. Obviously, if I felt it was a really compelling value proposition, I would have switched to those radios, but I didn't. Tumbleweed 30 points out that the Jumper T16 can't USB charge externally. Tumbleweed 30, one way that people are handling that is to just solder on an additional balance lead and let it hang outside the radio and charge via the balance lead. Another thing, that there is a external charging pack that somebody sells. They have it on RC groups. I don't remember the guy's name, and finally, there is a drop-in board. I think it's for the X9D. I can't remember, but there's a drop-in board that you solder to the USB port and lets you charge from USB. Some people have suggested that I should do that for the Jumper T16. UAV Tech asks, oh, Botgrinder's here. Hello, Botgrinder. Welcome to the channel, Botgrinder. UAV Tech asks, do you know how one could figure out the protocol of the bind and fly toy whoop for jumper binding? I don't, UAV Tech. That's one of the things. The Jumper T16 comes with this 4-in-1 module that can bind to FreeSky, FlySky, Spectrum. Yeah, obviously. But it can also do all these obscure bind and fly protocols. But the problem is, if you've got a bind and fly, how do you know what protocol to choose? And I don't actually know the answer about that. I would probably just reach out to Jumper and see what they said. Basil Malik wants to know, Dominator V3 versus Skyzone Skyo 2X. Well, Dominator V3 isn't made anymore, so it's got to go to the Skyzone. Unless you want to get a used Dom V3. That's so tough. The thing that Fat Shark goggles have going for them is they let you use really, really good modules, like the Rapid Fire or maybe the TBS Fusion once the new hardware upgrade comes out. Skyzone goggles are they're really solid goggles, especially in terms of the user interface, the experience. You can do everything from within the goggles. Very nice looking screens on the Skyo 2X, but you can't stick a Rapid Fire in it or a TBS Fusion or whatever, and so you will always have somewhat worse RF performance with the Skyzones than with a Fat Shark. So. Taylor Feltz, thanks for $5 in the super chat. Both LED strips are set up in Betaflight to show red. One always blinks rainbow after a minute or so, even if I switch out the strips. Is it Beck heat buildup? I don't know how Beck heat buildup would cause that, Taylor Feltz, although I guess anything's possible. Since it happens when you switch out the strips, that tells me that it's not the strips. I wonder if it is something about the LED strip output. If you suspect it's the Beck, get an external Beck that you just know has enough current capacity to handle it, and try that. Let's see here. Quad Shrinker says, are any Byte Frost units out there being tested? Any feedback yet? Whoop! I just got mine today. And right there, right behind me there on the bench is the quad I scrambled to put it in before this live stream. So I will be working on that this week. Bill W., what's the minimum Betaflight update for using DJI FPV? Here's the thing, Bill. The DJI system doesn't have to connect to the flight controller at all. Okay? So you could put DJI on a wing, right? It doesn't matter. It's just a video transmitter and a camera. If you connect the DJI unit to the flight controller, you get some advantages. One of the advantages is that you can see your battery voltage in the goggles, kind of a big deal. One of the advantages is that when you arm the quad, the controller, the DJI unit can automatically start recording. That's kind of nice. That will work with, it just uses the MSP protocol, which Betaflight has supported forever. So I just think that will work as far back as you can imagine. The other thing is that if you are using the DJI controller, the air unit outputs S-Bus to the flight controller, but it can output a proprietary high-speed version of S-Bus. And only Betaflight, I think 4.1 supports that. I'm not sure that 4.0 supports that. But if you need to, you can just drop back down to regular S-Bus and be fine. So I hope I answered your question there, Bill. Bog Grinder. I always feel good when Bog Grinder stops by my stream. I got to get out to Philly sometime, visit him. It would probably be an eye-opening experience for me. Wesley Chen, thanks for $2. Wesley wants me to say pretty freaking good. Well, I'm not going to say that, Wesley. BK to the fullest, thanks for $5. No question, just thanks for the help. Does turtle mode work with 4.1? Sure, Ravi Shankar. I don't know. Yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't it? Yeah, for sure. Tank FPV. New build feels like a boat when turning the same pins and Tank, I asked you a question. I didn't see your answer. Tank, I asked you, is it the same weight, the same motor, the same size as before? Wesley Chen. I said it when I read your question. That's the joke. Wesley Chen wants me to say pretty freaking good. That was his question. I said, no, I'm not going to do it. See, I just did it. You got to get on my level, Wesley. He answered. I'm sorry I missed the answer. What was the answer? It's all the same? Same PIDs. Let's assume it's the same weight, same size, etc. Same props. Let's assume it's an identical build, but it feels boaty. I don't think it's the same PIDs then. Something's different about the PIDs. Or maybe you got a bad ESC and it's making it unresponsive. That's where I would go. Alex Dalton wants to know about overclocking the flight controller. Alex, you can overclock the F4 and F7. They will run hotter, but it's usually not a problem. And if you're trying to get that last little, if you're trying to run 8K, 8K with bidirectional D-Shot, overclocking may be the only way to do it reliably. I don't typically overclock. I'll just run at 4K, 4K and get, the quad fly is amazing. I don't really want to push the limits to get that extra little bit of CPU speed, but you can do it. Yeah, it's no big deal. It's usually fine. It just makes the flight controller run hotter, basically. Scorpy 101, why doesn't turtle mode work on all props? I think Scorpy 101, what you are thinking of, has to be the Emax Tiny Hawk. The props that came on the Emax Tiny Hawk just didn't have enough authority when they reversed to flip it over. It has to make enough thrust. And props are directional, so the props are designed to push air one way, but not the other way. And when you reverse them, they do push some air, but not a lot. But turtle mode usually works. Once you're up in the 3-inch to 5-inch range, turtle mode pretty much works on all props. Quadrophenia says 8.8 and D-Shot 600 on F7 is fine. Don't need to overclock. You say that, Steve, but I just set up an F7, and when I ran it at 8.8 D-Shot 600, when I ran tasks, the PID task was at like 68%. And I was like, I don't know about that. I didn't really love it. Stan Johnson, I am having trouble flashing my flight controller on macOS. Do I need drivers for it? The only driver you need to install on macOS, Stan, is the CP210 driver if you have an SP Racing F3, which you probably don't. All modern flight controllers use the STM32 driver, and it's pre-installed for Mac. So if you're having trouble flashing the flight controller on Mac, then it may be the USB cable, it may be the flight controller is damaged. Nismo, I would think the H7, the SP Racing H7 can handle 8K, 8K, DShot 600 no problem. The F7, people are doing it, but to me it feels like it's a little on the edge. And so I'm just like, I'm not going to push it. But the H7 certainly can handle it. 507RC says, my Kakute F7 HDV can do 8K, 8K, DShot 600 with lower CPU than that. Yeah, no, here's the thing, 507. When I look down at the bottom of the configurator window, the CPU percent is like 7%. But when I type tasks, the peak is like 68%. So I think what we're seeing is that there are like spikes, and that's what worries me. I disagree that you want the gyro as fast as possible. I missed who said that. I disagree that you want the gyro as fast as possible. I mean, faster gyro sampling will just, at a certain point, it just introduces more noise. That's why Betaflight dropped support for 32K. Ryan Hall says, so is there any point in buying an F7 over an F4 now? Yeah, F7, the UARTs on an F7 are way simpler to work with, especially if you're dealing with FreeSky and inversion and stuff. And F7s do run faster. I mean, Betaflight 4.1 can run 4K 4K at DShot 300. But, I mean, Betaflight is going to continue to advance. I mean, F7s are usually about $5 or $10 more than an F4. And if that's in your budget for a build, I would definitely be looking at an F7. I mean, I don't know, guys. But, I mean, this is the quad right here, actually. So let's just have a look. Let's just have a look. This is the Kakute F7, holy bro, Kakute F7 HDV. That is the Holy Bro flight controller designed for use with the DJI system. And if we look right here, nope, not there, here, we can connect. CPU load 3%. Okay, it's all wonderful. And we'll go to tasks, and we'll see 3922. That's pretty close to 4,000 and a peak of 26%. All good, right? Fantastic. Okay, now, if we then go to configuration, if we set to 8K, 8K in DShot 600, and I'll give you a chance to see. I mean, I don't have the barometer, the mag. I don't have a whole bunch of other stuff configured. If I just hit save and reboot, now it's not going to do it because you guys are watching. That's always how it is. Now, the CPU load is like showing 7 or 8%, but when I type tasks, 7951, I've seen it lower. That's pretty close to 8K, but not dead on, and I've seen it lower. And 54% peak utilization, 42% average utilization. So, like, it's probably okay, but to me, that feels on the edge. And I mean, let's just type it a couple more times. See, now it's at 8,002. That's good. 4952. It's probably fine. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. 7988, 7856. It's probably fine. But to me, it felt a little on the edge. So I don't know. You could probably do it. That's not even with it armed, though. Won't that go up when it arms? Tobias Boone wants to know, is it normal for the motors to get hot when testing them on the bench? Oh, pardon me. When using the motors tab? No, not at all. When you use the motors tab to test your motors, the PID loop is not active. So filters and degain and all that stuff doesn't apply when you use the motors tab. So if you get hot motors from the motors tab, it means most likely your screws are too long and they're touching the winding. That's probably what's happening. Basil Malik, am I going to do an updated beginner build? Yeah, probably. Probably. I should. The beginner build is still pretty, it's still pretty good, but I just have to find the parts I want to use for it. It was annoying having those parts be out of stock so much. So, Jokester FPV, why can't I get RSSI in my OSD with the Kakute F7? I mean, you probably set it up wrong. What I always ask people, that Jokester, is what receiver are you using? There you go. Pro Popular Mechanics, if you're in the Discord, you should be asking questions in the live stream chat. I'm not watching the patron-only chat during the live stream. Caesar FPV, I won't be doing a $99 build. $99 builds are okay if you absolutely have to get into the hobby for $99 or less, but they make so many compromises that I just don't like to stand behind that. I would rather encourage you to do a little bit more expensive build that you'll have a better result. Where do we get that JB sticker on my cup, Takman? Takman, I mentioned this earlier. This was custom made for me by a friend of mine who works at a memorabilia company. He just did this as a one-off. You can't get this sticker. You can't get this cup. I asked him. I said, could we, like, sell these? He was like, yeah, but the cup would cost, like, $30. Would you pay $30 for this? I would feel bad asking you to pay $30 for a cup with my logo on it. I don't think we'd sell a lot of them. Okay. Motors can get a little bit warm, Ian in the Discord. Motors can get a little warm, but they shouldn't get super warm. They just really shouldn't. There's no props on, so there's no load. And there's no PID loop to make, like, determ noise. They shouldn't get super warm. They really shouldn't. Michael Honeycheck says, make a sleeve. That's interesting, Michael. Propsoff says $25.99. I can't tell if Propsoff is the guy who made the cup for me, and I just don't recognize his account. Or if Basil Malik, I probably will not make the updated beginner build before Christmas. But Basil, I would encourage you to follow my existing beginner build. If you look at the parts on the existing beginner build, think about it. The frame, you don't like the frame? Just get another frame. You can follow, like, you could put a frame together. It's not that hard. The motors, DYS has gone out of business. You can still get Sam Cooke motors. If you want to use different motors, just get different motors. They solder up the same. Okay, now what's left? The flight control stack is, I picked a good one that stands the test of time. The Holy Bro F7, that is still a great stack even today. So you can just follow that build today. There's no reason not to. So Tobias Boone says, screws definitely not touching the motor windings. Did you test with a multimeter, Tobias, or did you just eyeball it? Because a lot of times people test with people eyeball it and they think it's fine, but then they test with a multimeter and they find out they were wrong. Marley Lepo, thank you for 50 Norwegian kroner. What's up? What's up? I have a Maytech F722 SE. The flight controller died. The PDB works. Yeah, the PDB is just copper traces. There's nothing to break there. Motors and ESC work. There is power in the receiver, but no response. How to fix? Replace the flight controller, my friend. I'm very sorry to tell you that. The flight controller died. You just replace it. New flight controller time. I'm so sorry. I know that's not what you want to hear. But unless you could figure out... Pardon me, I'm spitting all over my desk. Unless you can figure out what died, and like maybe if you know a lot about electronics repair, you could be like, oh, a voltage regulator died. I can replace this inductor and it will work again. I mean, that's not unlikely. But if you're like a normal person, you look at it and you go, I don't know, it's dead. And you got to replace it. My ice is melting. Pardon me. What's your favorite patch antenna, asks Chris W. Chris, I'm so glad you asked that. Because it gives me an opportunity, and we're an hour into the live stream, so I hope you'll forgive me if I take 1 second to plug my website. My website is fpvknowitall.com, and on that site is the ultimate FPV shopping list, which is my list of... I should do the whole thing in that voice. What do you think? Let's do it. The ultimate FPV shopping list, which is my list of all the products that I recommend when people ask me, what's the best thing? That's just going to hurt my throat. The best. So if we go to the best FPV equipment, I got a section right here for directional antennas where I suggest patch antennas that I like. The two that I really like are the TrueRC X-Air. This is actually my favorite. It's got a little bit higher gain than the Luminaire Axie patch, but the Luminaire Axie patch is a little bit smaller. So these two are my favorites. Chris Roseberry can't get his Mojo 230 to connect to Betaflight. Chris Roseberry, I have a video. Betaflight won't connect. And I'm going to paste that video in here for you, Chris. Check that out. That may get you started. Dean in the Discord, thank you for being a patron, Dean. Dean asks, do they make a decent LiPo discharger? Yes, they do, Dean. Dean, this is the FD100. There's a bigger one, though. They made another one. Did they make an FD200? I think they made a bigger one even. Yeah. So this is what you want, Dean. Oh my God, it's $100. Wow. Okay, well, I mean, there you go. This is the FD100. It costs $35. It does 80-watt discharge. It'll discharge a pack pretty quickly. This is the 200-watt one, and it's more than 3 times. It's about 3 times as much. So that's kind of a lot, but that is what you can do, though. I mean, if you're clever, you could just get some halogen bulbs and rig something up yourself for a lot cheaper, but that's what you want. I had an FC100 for a while, and then randomly it just stopped working, and I was like, oh, that sucks. And then I just, there you go. Marley Lepo, I do agree. If it doesn't power up from USB, but it does from the battery, that's the 5-volt regulator. 100% agree. So, Marley, let me step back from my original answer and try a little harder. Work for your Kroner. If you want to save it and it's the 5-volt regulator, you can get like a 1-amp 5-volt regulator from the internet and just wire the output of the 5-volt regulator to one of the 5-volt pads on the flight controller, and that will power the flight controller. You probably want to disconnect the VBAT input just in case the 5-volt regulator is doing something, but that's what you can do. Cement Kid wants to know if I have any videos on editing. I do. I have a couple. Here's a video I made, Cement Kid. I'm going to tag you here in the chat, Cement Kid. I have a video about how I edit an FPV video to music. Wesley Chen. Wesley Chen. Pretty freaking good. I said it, though. I don't know. Wesley, you're trying to set me up for a joke, but I don't know. Well, I'm missing the joke. The latency's killing it. Yeah, OCD FPV reminds us, Race Day Quads has these things. These caps that'll discharge your battery. Yeah, this is it. This is a very slow LiPo battery discharger. For $5, you plug it into your battery and then you just leave it overnight. It discharges very, very slowly. Yeah. What was that? What's going on there? Hang on, let's see if I can do it again. It jittered. No, it's not going to do it again. Yeah, that's something. That's okay. For $5, I mean, how many of them do you want? You're going to spend $30? I mean, you're going to spend $35 on the ISDT thing. Maybe this makes sense. My config is pretty close to Joe's config. The Mighty Thor wants to know if you missed the Bytefrost talk. Well, Thor, I've got it. I just got it today. I'm going to be trying it out, but I don't have anything to say about it. Now, anybody know? Let me ask you guys, because I'm thinking about Bytefrost now that I have it. How how many pilots does Bytefrost support in the air at the same time? Anybody know the answer? Pour myself the rest of my drink. Rotor Riot just did a test where they had 8 pilots in the air at the same time. That's kind of a big deal. Bytefrost's Noah Reinhardt says 4 pilots in HQ mode. Sean Hussein, I do answer these questions, Sean. I don't answer all of them because they go by too quickly. That's right, Corey Simmons. You plug your Fat Shark into the screen, and then you get the HD signal. That is correct. 507 says 4 at once in the HQ mode. You can get 8 in the LQ in the low quality mode. I mean, Nismo, you say same as the DJI, but the DJI can do 8 in high quality mode. So I think the Bytefrost is. I think Fat Shark knows, and they've said as much, that Bytefrost is not quite ready to like knock DJI out, but it's still the right solution for some people. Siler FPV, I go till 10 p.m. I got another hour to go. Jeffro FPV points out that Bytefrost will knock out analog. Well, that's not anything will knock. I mean, I guess Connex ProSight was frequency hopping and didn't knock out analog, but. How do you mount the VTX or receiver, Benjamin Eidelman? The VTX is a 30 millimeter board. Let's have a look at the picture. Here it is. You can see it mount. Oh. My GetFPV website's been popping this thing up, and I can't get rid of it. So here you can see the Bytefrost VT. This is the Bytefrost VTX right here. It's basically just a 36 millimeter board. It goes underneath or above your flight controller, and there you go. One thing that's very interesting is it seems to take just an analog camera input. Like the camera that they sent me was this. It's just like a Runcam Racer. Oh, it says Runcam Racer HD. Okay, that's different. But it just says 5 to 36 volts ground video. And then A and B. I wonder if you can take an analog input of some kind. Like, for example, they've said that Bytefrost will work with standard definition cameras, too. Nismo, that isn't fitting in my Apex. Come on, dude. You can't fit that in your quad? Give me a break. You could do it. INFPV, I know Wesley Chen is trying to set me up, but I don't know. I would love to let Wesley enjoy his joke. I just don't know the joke he's getting. Wesley Chen, thank you for $2. JB, have you tried the Ligma setting for Betaflight yet? Well, I know, Wesley Chen. I don't think I have tried the Ligma setting. What is the Ligma setting in Betaflight, Wesley Chen? And now we wait 30 seconds for the punchline. Scorpy 101, are there any decent DJI digital clones that are kind of cheap? No, none. Nope. Every other high-definition FPV system that I've ever seen is fundamentally flawed and basically unusable, not worth the cost. DJI, and I hate the fact that whenever you say anything about DJI, people go sell out. I'm like, I'm sorry, it's just good. But DJI is the first one to release a digital. I take that back. ProSight was pretty decent. ProSight was good. The big problem with ProSight was, number one, I think it was just too early. People weren't quite ready for it yet. And number two, it was just a little bit too big to make it work in just a normal frame. I think ProSight was so close. And ProSight did deliver an okay flight experience. It was usable, although it had some things I didn't like the smearing when it broke up. I feel comfortable saying DJI is the first one to deliver a digital FPV system that is just works and is worth with almost without reservation. And so then people say, well, people are just going to clone it. They've been trying to do it. They've been trying to clone it for the last 3 years and they've failed. So what are they not going to suddenly succeed? Yeah. KSC 10-10165, reliable place to order a Jumper T16 Pro. KSC, there are very few stores selling the Jumper T16 Pro. Some retailers have told me, and I have seen some communications indicating that that's because FreeSky basically gave them an ultimatum. And if you see a retailer selling the T16, it means that they stood up to FreeSky and said, no, we're not going to let you bully us, more or less. So I believe that Pyrodrone has them. Grayson Hobby in the United States has the T16. I think that Heli Nation has the T16 in the United States. The other place you can go is their official store is on Alibaba. And if you wonder why Jumper's official store is on Alibaba, it's because FreeSky... Okay, I got to be careful because there's things that I know and things that I believe. Like, I know for a fact that FreeSky sent a letter to dealers saying, if you sell the Jumper T16, then there will be repercussions. The implication was it's like that they wouldn't be allowed to sell FreeSky anymore. That was the implication. It's like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. No, we're not going to tell him that he can't sell FreeSky anymore. It's just the implication. It sounds like you're telling him that if he sells the Jumper T16, he won't be allowed to sell FreeSky anymore. I'm not saying that. It's just the implication. So, Banggood doesn't sell the Jumper T16. GearBest used to, now they don't. Wonder why. And when you can bully Banggood into not selling a product, FreeSky's got some gigantic on them. Because when you can bully Banggood into not selling a product, holy crap. But anyway, Alibaba is their official store, but there are local retailers who are selling them, and you should definitely check them out. It is a nice boat. It is a nice boat. You're right. Ninam says, hey, Joshua, I have a situation. I went to BL Heli to reverse my motor direction, but the application crashed, and now my ESCs don't even beep on startup. What I would do is I would try to just reflash them. You should be able to reflash them if they're BL Heli 32. If they're BL Heli S, they can get bricked, and what you need to do is you can flash them over the C2 interface, but it's a huge hassle. No, Kyle K, AliExpress, it's the same thing, isn't it? It's AliExpress. Maybe you're right. Hang on. Let me check. They gave me a link to their official store. No. The official Jumper store is on AliExpress. Oh, you're right. It's AliExpress. That's my mistake. So that's the official Jumper store. But I would strongly suggest and by the way, I don't begrudge you if you use a FreeSky. I'm not like that. I'm just everybody get in the tent. Let's all get along. Okay? I'm chosen to use the T16 as my daily driver. I'm still going to make videos about other radios. I would never just shut somebody out like that. And if you use a FreeSky, I don't care. It doesn't hurt my feelings. But if you want to get the Jumper T16, I would say definitely first try to support local hobby shops, because either they were so small and they flew under the radar and FreeSky never talked to them, or FreeSky came to them and said, hey, we don't think you should sell this radio. And they said, well, I'm gonna. And now because of that, you have a source for the product. So if you want the product, definitely reward them for that. Caesar FPV thinks I have an affiliation with Fat Shark? With who's FS, Caesar FPV? Is it Fat Shark? Kyle K says Joshua likes the repair guy at Fat Shark more than the whole rest of the company. I do think that Fat Shark service centers are one of the best reasons. I mean, they make good goggles, but yeah, Jacob Bothell says I don't review Spectrum. Here's the thing, Jacob. I don't review Spectrum just because that's not a product that I want to use. There's two reasons why I will review a product, okay? One is that I like the product and I want to make content about it. One is that you are interested in the product and you want me to make content about it. And every product I review is some percentage of both of those things. But here's the thing. If I am 0% interested in it, it's got to be at least a little bit I'm interested in it. I'm not going to make content about Spectrum. I just am not interested in flying Spectrum radios. They don't run OpenTX, and I don't like the Spectrum receiver choices. So, you want me to make content about Spectrum, but I am 0% interested in making content about Spectrum, so I don't do it. It's not that I have like some kind of a vendetta against them. Yeah, Kyle K points out Spectrum did come out with a decent receiver this year. No, that's true. The new the SRXL2 receiver is actually really nice. Wesley Chen, it's over, man. It's over, man. Just let it go. Mr. Tux says, anybody seen the R2 Tech Next G1 digital FPV thing? Yep, Mr. Tux. Here's the thing, Mr. Tux. I tested 6 months ago. I tested that and had very bad results with it. It was just, it died on the bench, actually. When I mentioned that on Facebook, R2 Tech said, no, we fired all our engineers. We completely rebuilt it. We fixed it. And I said, okay. The R2 Tech Next G1, until they say that they fixed it, but every single one, I've had 3 of them, every single one of them has died on the bench. So I hope they fixed it. But, yeah. Helicopterosis, any idea what 0 PID values would do? That's a great question, and I know the answer. Helicopterosis, once upon a time, I had my quad set up for in-flight adjustments, so I could flip a switch and make the PIDs go up and down. And I sold that quad to a buddy. He bound it to his radio, and when he started flying, it was fine. And then 15, 20 seconds after, it would become unflyable. And what was happening is that his transmitters, just default switch positions, were interacting with my in-flight adjustment setting to make the P gains go down. So what happens when the quad is at 0 gains is it just basically is unflyable. It just flops all around. Ravi Shankar, do you suggest Banggood or Amazon? Ravi, if you have Amazon Prime, Amazon's a no-brainer. Number 1, because the shipping is free, and number 2, because they are very generous with their return policy. I've never had if you return too many things, they'll cut you off. But Amazon Prime is a very, very safe way to order things, because if you don't like them, just send them back and they just refund you, and it's no big deal. There are a lot of places in the world where Banggood is the only sort of feasible shipping, though. Oh my God! I clicked up on the Discord and didn't see it scrolling by 198 new messages. Oh my God! What's going on in the Discord? How's it going, Discord? I'm just ignoring my patrons. Let's see what we got going on here. Any questions in the Discord? People talking about Crossfire. Nice. Let's see here. Bad Dachshund Joe Gray asks, do you think Jumper will release their own 900 megahertz module and receivers eventually? I don't know about that, Joe. And if they did, I would hesitate. If you look at FreeSky R9 versus Crossfire, Crossfire just wins in terms of hardware reliability, in terms of firmware stability. So if Jumper did release their own 900 megahertz modules, they would have to demonstrate that they could do a really good job at it. And for everything Jumper has done, I'm not convinced that they have like a lot of coding chops. Like, they've developed Jumper TX by modifying OpenTX, okay. But that's a little different than developing like a 900 megahertz system from scratch. Let's see. Nate Man says if DJI, pardon me, if DJI implemented a locked latency mode that allows for analog style breakup, it would be nearly perfect. Yeah, I wish that DJI had a tighter latency mode where you sacrifice more breakup for less variance in the latency. It seems like they could do that in firmware. They're never going to have analog style breakup like Bifrost does. That's just not how their codec works. I don't see that happening though. Nate Man wants to know if I've seen any stability or performance improvements in the DJI system over the time I've had it. To be honest with you, Nate Man, I updated the firmware when I first got the system, and I haven't updated it since. I maybe should go back and check the firmware for updates, but yeah. Thank you, Helicoptrosis, for this $5 super chat. Thank you very much. Def Thief, thank you for $5. What gig micro SD card should I buy to record my Larva X and my Attitude V5? Any advice when dealing with micro SD cards? If you're doing, I mean, here's the thing. For black box logging, the smallest card, if you had a 2 gig card, it would still be more black box logging than you would ever create in a lot of flying. So for black box, I just buy the smallest cards I can get. Those are typically 8 gig cards. It's just very hard to find smaller cards even at any price. And that's what I go with. Honestly, a lot of the time I'm just using a 32 gig card. Because if we look, like on Amazon, like SD card 8 gig. An 8 gig class 4 card for 50. I need a micro SD, sorry. Hold on. 8 gig micro SD for $4. Kingston, that's actually not bad. Kingston 8 gig micro SD for $4. So for black box logging, that's fine. But look, here's a SanDisk. Hang on. Here's a SanDisk. Where is it? There's my window. There we go. Here's a SanDisk 16 gig for $6. So, and if we go to 32 gig, it's $9. So to be honest with you, I just buy 32 gig cards almost all the time and use them for DVR, use them for black box logging. It's all good. Yeah, you do want a fast one for black box. That's true. For DVR, it doesn't need to be super fast. But for black box, you do want a fast card because it's doing a lot of random writes. So this is a class 10 UHS 1 32 gig card for $9. That'll do almost anything you want. Dean, thanks for $5 because without your Discord, I'll still be flying tiny whoops in my kitchen. Thanks for being a patron as well, Dean. Handsome Dragon, thank you for $15. Big donation. Thank you, Handsome Dragon. Pretty much have my parts list to build my first drone, but I don't understand the VTX and the goggles. Can I use any pair of goggles, and how do I link it? Handsome Dragon, the VTX you're probably using, unless you're using the DJI system, the VTX is an analog transmitter. That means it is basically just like a little television station. It just broadcasts the signal into the air, and the goggles tune into the frequency and pick it up, just like FM radio, AM radio, or or broadcast television. So any set of goggles will work with like a 5 gigahertz analog transmitter. One way you theoretically could screw it up would be if they make video transmitters that operate in different frequency bands. So most video transmitters that we use for FPV are operating in the 5.8 gigahertz frequency band, but they make 2.4 gigahertz transmitters. If you somehow manage to accidentally buy a 2.4 gig transmitter, then your 5.8 gig goggles wouldn't work with it. But that probably isn't going to happen. So your goggles will almost certainly work with your video transmitter. And if you have a specific question, you can always reach out, message me on Facebook and ask me, and I'll let you know if everything's okay. Kim Ratcliffe wants to know if there's a Jumper T16 in mode 1. Kim, you can always open up the radio and convert it. In fact, I'm not going to get up and go get the radio, but you don't even have to open the Jumper T16 to adjust the gimbals. You just pop the little plastic grips off the back, and there are screw holes in the back that you can stick a screwdriver through to adjust the gimbals. So you could easily convert just make one throttle centering and make the other one not centering. And then in software, in the radio, you can change it from mode 2 to mode 1. It's no big deal. The Mighty Thor wants to know my opinion of the Immersion RC PowerPlay DVR. This is pretty... Stop it. And get over that. No, not that. Not that. Oh, that was the one I wanted. Yeah, here we go. This is the Immersion RC PowerPlay DVR. First of all, it's $90. So if you don't want to spend $90 for a DVR, I certainly understand. Get FPV. Fix your website. Oh, it worked. Oh my God, I can't believe it. So it's not just a DVR though. It is a battery pack. So it takes 18,500 batteries in the back. Oh, how about no? And so it can power your goggles. It's got this adapter cord that plugs in, and it's also a screen. So it comes with a clip that you can put on the get FPV. Fix your website. It comes with a clip you can put on the back of your head strap and actually wear it on the back of your head, so people behind you can see what your goggles are seeing. That's kind of cool. But the cool thing about it is it records in H.264 at 60 frames per second, so it's an actual good, decent DVR, which Fat Shark so far hasn't really had a great record of. The big thing that I think competes with it is the Luminaire DX600. This is what I use for some of my testing. The cool thing about the DX600, so it doesn't have a battery pack built in. It will not power your goggles. It has a battery just for itself though, but it will not power your goggles, but it does have an ambient mic, and that's pretty cool because it can pick up ambient audio, and I kind of like that. Monkey FPV wants to know, where can I connect Crossfire if I don't want to use Crossfire? What do you mean? You don't want to use Crossfire, but you want to connect Crossfire, Monkey? I'm not sure what you're asking me. Sean S. FPV in the Discord. Thanks for being a patron, Sean. Is there a spray to waterproof components? Sean, what you want is silicone conformal coating. It comes in a spray-on version, but don't use that. You want the paint-on version with the brush. You paint the problem is that if the conformal coating gets into a button or a plug, it will make it not work anymore. So you don't want to spray it on. You just want to brush it on to exactly where it needs to be. Let's see. Monkey FPV wants to know where to connect Crossfire. So this flight controller, I don't know what flight controller this is, but it's got these plugs and it's pre-made for everything. And the problem is Crossfire, it's pre-made for S-Bus, but you want to use Crossfire. So we need a UART. We need a spare UART. Where's the other side of the... there we go. Is this the underside? Hang on. 5-volt video in, video out. No, you don't have any UARTs, my friend. You're screwed. You don't have any spare UARTs. They just didn't give you any. So here's what you can do. Here's what you can do, man. Crossfire can output S-Bus. So you set the Crossfire receiver to output S-Bus, and you can still use Crossfire, but you won't get the low latency. You will get great range, but you won't get low latency. That's the workaround. Other than that, I think you're out of luck, man. Haschenberg, if you've got acrylic conformal coating instead of silicone, it does work. Acrylic is a little harder and more brittle. Silicone is a little more flexible. I prefer silicone. I think that, I don't know if this is true, but some people have suggested that if you're subject to shock and vibration, acrylic can kind of crack and maybe not protect as well. I always get silicone, but if you have acrylic, you're probably fine. Basil Malik, thoughts on Zop battery? Don't buy Zop batteries. Let's see. Kyle K points out you could solder directly to the chip. Maybe, Kyle, but if the board designer who defined the target didn't define like those UARTs in the target, then the UARTs just may not be active. But I'm going to guess that this is some cheap knockoff flight controller that's reusing an existing target. So I'm going to guess that maybe the target is like Omnibus F3 or Omnibus F4 rather, and maybe those you could direct solder to the pins. That's tough. Decodester says, why is there no love for 5S? Decodester, that's a good question. Here's the way it went. People sort of settled on 4S. And then a bunch of racers went, let's try 6S, low KV. And they said it's awesome. And then everybody went to 6S. I can tell you, I think it's Evan Turner who has switched to 5S. He's running 5S now. He said that he was destroying too many parts, like ESCs were popping on 6S. And he finds that 5S is like the real sweet spot between sort of reliability and performance. But there just isn't a lot of selection in 5S motors. If you want to run 5S, you're probably going to get a 4S motor in the range of 2300 to 2600 kV and then just use a throttle limit. That's what you're probably going to do. But yeah, maybe we're going to see a 5S revolution. There's also not a lot of 5S batteries. Scorpy 101. Would waterproofing a flight controller make it impossible to solder to? No. With conformal coating, you just burn through it with a soldering iron. It's fine. Really, FPV, thanks for $2 in the super chat. Can you short a receiver with a finger while binding? No, unless your finger was like wet with salt water or something, your finger is not conductive enough to short circuit it. YouTubing, thank you for $5. I have the Eachine EV200D that I think I've outgrown. What's the next logical upgrade? YouTubing, if you... I mean, the EV200D is a good goggle. It's a $300 goggle, right? Yeah. So the EV200D is an okay goggle. If you want to get something better, I think you're looking at the SkyZone Sky 030 or the Fat Shark HDO. I think that's the next place to go from there. Anything else is going to be either a lateral step or a step down. Or you could be thinking about DJI or Orca, I suppose. Really, FPV, you can't short a receiver with a finger while binding, but if you scraped the button off or damaged it somehow, you could maybe short circuit it. Ion FPV, I have not heard anything from Orca. Nothing. They're still waiting for that on-off switch. I don't know. All I know is when they said they were going to ship goggles to customers in August, I said, that's a pretty impressive timeline. And they said, we're going to do it. Now it's October 15th. Still haven't shipped. I hope they ship soon. It's not vaporware, YouTubing. I mean, I think that they are making a product. I don't know what the holdup is. They said the holdup was sourcing the power switch. Maybe that's true, although they were supposed to ship. They've missed a couple deadlines. So how long does it take to freaking get a power switch? I don't know. Is a lifted pad fixable, Mark Dibble? Mark, maybe, but here's what I say. If you're, don't take this personally, Mark. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking in general. If you're so ham-fisted that you lifted a pad, probably you don't have the soldering skill to repair it. So if someone much better than you could, one of the things you can do is you can scrape back the solder mask to expose the copper trace. So you lifted the pad, but then there's a little tiny copper trace that leads away from the pad to somewhere else on the board. If you scrape back the solder mask, you can solder directly to the trace. And then what you probably need to do is either epoxy or hot glue down the wire so it doesn't pull the trace off and lift it off. That works. If you use continuity tester and tone out the trace, you can find where it goes. So maybe the pad goes over to a capacitor somewhere. You could solder that capacitor instead. Those are the fixes. But if you're lifting pads, almost certainly it's because you done goofed. Your iron was too hot. You were too slow. You probably screwed up and lifted the pad. It's not like if someone has very good soldering technique, then they don't tend to lift pads. So by the time you're lifting pads, you probably don't have the skill to repair it. So what you should do is you should go find someone way better at soldering than you and ask them to repair it. Thank you, Quad Shrinker, for $5 in the super chat. Thank you, Just Josh, for $5. Can waterproofing with silicone conformal create more of an overheating problem? Josh, in theory, the conformal coating does insulate a little bit, but I don't think it really matters. Thank you, Rabs FPV, for $10 in the super chat. Sean S. in the Discord. Thank you for being a patron, Sean. Can you make 4S feel like 6S with PID tuning? No, not really, Sean. I mean, no, if you could, then we would. The big difference is that 6S has a lot different voltage sag. The way that it sags and the way it interacts with the motor is really different. Nate Man wants to know how I like the Runcam Phoenix versus the Eagle. I think the Phoenix looks really good in daylight. It has a really good looking image. I think you need to tweak it a little bit, like turn the sharpness down, but overall I think it's good. The problem with the Phoenix is in low light, it's really, really bad. Of course, the Eagle is my favorite. It has been. I have yet to see something I like better. The thing I like about the Eagle is not just that it has a good looking image, I think it does, but also that it's very versatile. By turning the WDR and the brightness up and down, you can get an image that's suitable for very different lighting conditions. It's a very sensitive, light sensitive, so it works in low light. It's just a very, very tweakable image, and I like that about the Eagle. Will Bytefrost work with the Scouts? Jacob Stringfellow. Bytefrost works with anything with an HDMI input. So does the Scout have an HDMI input? I'm not sure about that. I don't think it does. I say Bytefrost works with anything with an HDMI input, but I got a message today from someone who has SkyZone Skyo 2S, and he said, and this is just a sample size of one and just a dude on the internet, I haven't verified this. He said that the Bytefrost didn't work with the HDMI input on his SkyZone goggles. And he reached out to Fat Shark, and Fat Shark said, well, we haven't tested them. Maybe there's a problem with the HDMI handshake. And he was kind of mad. Because he bought... and now, to be fair, Fat Shark did say in the product page, please understand that you're beta testing for us when you buy this product. A lot of manufacturers release a product, they haven't tested it. They basically are using the users as beta testers, and they don't acknowledge it. At least Fat Shark was honest about it and upfront. But... yeah, there's at least one case where somebody had a goggle that Fat Shark, that Bytefrost didn't work with. DJ Anuaki. What's going on, DJ Anuaki? DJ says, I'll get real help from Andy RC, Nick Burns, Painless 360, or Drone Cams. One of them will help me out with that piece of garbage T16 jumper. DJ Anuaki's mad about something. Did I not help you? Oh, it hurts my feelings. What's going on, DJ? What are we talking about here? I hate it when somebody thinks I'm not helping them. I don't see any other messages from DJ. Nope. Oh well. He mad. What are you mad about? What's he mad about? Replace the main board. gimbal's not calibrating on your T16. Okay, can I just reiterate, by the way? Sometimes people ask questions in the chat and I don't answer them because they're like 1,000 messages are going by and I don't see them all. So, don't take it, number one, don't take it personally. Number two, message me on Facebook and I'll help you. If I don't help you in the live stream, just message me on Facebook. I'll help you. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I answer more of my Facebook messages, emails, and other random messages than anybody else in FPV. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that. I know that because I spend like 3 hours a day, I'm not exaggerating, answering messages from you guys. And I don't think anybody else. I know other people in FPV and they're like when I'm at a Rotor Riot, when I'm with the Rotor Riot guys, we're in the car driving to a location and I'm answering messages and Drew's like, what are you doing? Are you doing it again, aren't you? I'm like, what? He's like, I just don't answer those messages. I'm like, So if you have a question for me and I don't answer it in the live stream, just reach out to me personally and I will help you. Also, if you've got a T16 with like a bad gimbals, maybe the middle of a live stream isn't the right place to dig into that troubleshoot. But I will try to help you. You may just have a bad gimbal. I mean, if it won't calibrate, you may have a bad gimbal. Here's what I would say, DJ. Open up the radio. Look for like a damage in the wires coming from the gimbal. The gimbals are completely replaceable. The bottom line is if you just bought it, go back to where you bought it from and see if they'll replace it for you. You shouldn't have to deal with that. I mean, with any product, there's going to be some defective hardware. If you get something defective out of the box, just go back to the retailer and say, this was broke, send me another one. That's what I would say. He replaced the gimbal already? And it's still doing it? Then it's probably... But again, if it's a new product, you just go back to the vendor and say, it broke. Please fix. Send me, I don't know. Send me something else. Send me a new one. Send me a new main board. That is messed up, though. I'd be mad, too. Jose Navarro, thank you for $2 in the super chat. Why is DJI hardware reliable? What brand is close? I'm not sure I understand the question, Jose. I mean, DJI makes good gear. A lot of people make good gear, although, frankly, the build quality of a lot of gear, even the good gear in FPV, is pretty poor. The good stuff is mediocre by other people's standards. Mr. Tux, thanks for helping out with that. Nismo wasted $10 on horrible mac and cheese from Sparrows, and I just wanted to read that because I thought it was worth your time. Is the JBF4 flight controller 5S capable ENF? Yeah, it supports up to 6S. Mellow Yellow FPV wants to know how I like Flight 1. I don't actually know if you were asking me that, Mellow Yellow. I have one Falco X quad and I like it a lot. It flies good. What's really cool about it though is how easy it is to set up. I think that the difference in flight performance between the different firmwares the gap has really closed. There was a time when Raceflight was just like, oh, it's just the best, and Betaflight was like, we can catch up, we'll get there. Well, they did. They all fly differently, but they all fly really well. Sean's FPV, yes, the T16 multi-protocol module can do D16 protocol. It can. Steven Steinebaker, new to FPV, got a Mobula 7 with a Crazy Bee F4. Can't bind it. Steven, what you need to do is go into the configuration tab and look at the protocol that the receiver is set to. If it is an SPI-based receiver, and then the protocol is FreeSky_X, that is D16. If it's an SPI-based receiver and it's FreeSky_D, then that's D8. The good news is if it's an SPI-based receiver, you can easily switch it between D16 and D8 just by changing that setting. If it is a serial-based receiver, then you can't change it without changing the physical receiver on the. on the board. Let's see here. Thank you, Jonathan K, for $2 in the super chat. And thanks, MC's Creations, for 10 Brazilian reais. I never answer your question. I answer all your questions, dude. What lens do I use on my Micro Eagle? The stock lens. I use the JB Micro Eagle with the stock lens that comes on it. I don't actually remember if it's, I think it's the 2.1. Use the 2.1. Astro says, I think you should revisit the 6S battery on 4S motors topic again. It's gaining a lot of traction. Yeah, Astro, I revisited that. I kind of revisited that when I reviewed the Holybro Copus Rotor Riot edition with the 2150 kV motors. The real question is, like, why, if you're going to do that, why not just run 1700 kV motors? What are you getting by going 6S 2400 kV? I mean, I guess that if you have those motors, you could try it, but Basil Malik wants to know if the antennas that come with Fat Shark goggles are any good. They're okay. They're not the best. Stefan Kahlo, can you tune out the bluish picture of the JB Micro Eagle? I don't have a bluish picture personally. I don't think it has. It has auto color temp. One of the things I don't like about that camera is that the color temperature adjustments can be pretty radical and not as fast as you might like. I think you can manually set the color temperature, but then you would need to change it every time you go to a new location. Jose Navarro wants to know, thank you for $2 in the super chat, Jose. What do you see as the second iteration of DJI HD? I think the biggest place for DJI to improve is the size of the air unit. If they could get the air unit smaller and lighter, that would be amazing. I hope that they don't revise the protocol anytime soon, because I don't want to see people get locked out of the hardware that they've purchased. And I think they're smart enough not to do that. We could imagine the goggles getting smaller, but DJI traditionally, if you look at all their other goggles, they use relatively large screens. The panels are pretty large, and that lets them have a really big image at a relatively low price. So I think it's possible they could get the goggles smaller, but they haven't seemed to make really small goggles in the past, so I don't think they're going to suddenly start doing that. My guess is that if they're working on new hardware now, it will be a smaller, lighter air unit. That would be amazing. $507RC, HDMI output from the goggles is a thing that they have in-house. I don't know what they're going to do about making that available to the public, though, because I think that this is just my speculation, by the way, but I think that one of DJI's angles for profiting off the system is to provide services to event production people. So if you want to have a drone race with DJI, they come in and they bring an infrastructure that lets you broadcast the system. And if there's a cheap HDMI output, then people will just be like, screw it, I'll do it myself. So I wonder if they're going to sell the HDMI output for a reasonable price to the public. Racer Star Milo FC. I've never heard of that one, Slam State. Let's look that one up. What is the Racer? Racer Star has some okay hardware and some poor hardware. Let's see what the Racer Star Milo is. Well, so I don't love that it's... Stop. Oh, good. Okay. So I was going to say, I don't love that it's got all the pads, all the plugs. That tends to limit your flexibility, but there are pads on the bottom, and that's kind of nice. I like that they did that. It's $30. Yeah. F4 flight controller. Does it have built-in Bluetooth? It does. Oh, that's kind of cool. It has built-in Bluetooth. That's slick. Yeah, that's okay. What's it got? RX1, TX1. It's this one UART. How many UARTs does it have? Buzzer, ground, 5 volts. It's got LED. TX3 for smart audio. A 10-volt regulator. 5-volt to the camera. That's too bad. Not the worst, but current input from the ESC. So it does look like it's pretty limited. In like here we could see it's got S-Bus and RX2. It seems like it's got really limited UARTs. It does have an SD card for black box logging. It seems okay. I might be able with some effort I might be able to come up with something I like better, but it doesn't seem terrible. I don't see any deal breakers. The limited number of UARTs is the number one thing that would bug me. Yeah, Gab, that's the antenna. It's a printed wire trace on the circuit board. That's the Bluetooth antenna right there. How about that, huh? I mean, if you got it for $20, Sam Slate, yeah, for $20, I would go for it. Perry Earl wants to know if I've done any range tests with the Jumper T16. So when I got the Jumper T12 for review, it came with the same 4-in-1 module as the Jumper T16 has. And I tested the range of the module when I tested the Jumper T12, and I found it to have comparable range to my Tyrannus. That's all the testing I've done, but I've been happy with the range so far. The folks in the Discord are talking about how with Falco X, when you do throttle scaling, it scales the throttle and the PIDs. I'm surprised to hear that because at the end of the day, the PIDs relate to the strength of the motors. I would think that the PIDs would stay the same and the throttle would get scaled down. But the Falco X guys know what they're doing. They're not dummies, so they probably have a good reason for what they're doing. Cement Kid, I don't have really any KISS videos. I did one KISS test build a while back. The reason I stay away from KISS, there's two reasons I stay away from KISS. Back when I first got started, KISS was so expensive compared to everything else. I couldn't afford it. Like, you guys think of me now and you're like, ooh, look at him. He's got 130,000 subscribers. If I said, hey, can I review some KISS gear, somebody would send it to me. It wouldn't really matter how expensive it is. But back when I first started, I was just buying everything out of pocket, and I couldn't afford KISS gear. The other thing about KISS is, so I just never got into it. I never learned it. And now if I were going to make content about it, yeah, but it's still really expensive for what it's worth. The other thing about KISS that just chaps my hide is that there's no OSD built into the flight controller. You have to use a separate app and a separate adapter to flash the OSD, and it bugs the crap out of me. When Betaflight put OSD on the flight controller, I was like, I'm never going back, and I kind of meant it. So, if KISS came out with a flight controller that had a built-in OSD, I would have to think long and hard about it, but there you go. Thomas Bird, it would make good content. Would it, though? Would it? What do you think KISS's market share is compared to Betaflight? Would it make good content? I don't know about that. I mean, if I loved it, I would make content about it regardless. I don't even know how you would answer that question, to be honest with you. I mean, Steele uses KISS. He's the big KISS guy, right? Check it out. Check it out. Here, let's see if we can try to answer this question. KISS flight controller. Search volume, 12,000 searches per month. search volume. That doesn't add up. 4.4 thousand searches per month. Well, KISS had more for that particular term. How about, how do you, see, the KISS is such a generic term, I'm not sure how you could, how about this? KISS PID tuning. Oh, there's my video. I'm number 1. That's hilarious. Suck it, Steel. Search volume is poor. Competition is good. Betaflight PID tuning. Search volume is fair. Competition is fair. So it looks like Betaflight has more volume. I wish it showed the numbers. Keyword stats. Oh, there we go. Most views, least views, queued now. Top channel, Joshua Bardwell. Hell yeah. I'd say, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Because there's less competition, it looks like search is poor, but there's less competition. So maybe you're right. Maybe it would make good content. Anyway, I don't know. Who was it who asked that question? Somebody asks, did you see, are you going to make more content about TBS Fusion firmware update? Did you see the new Bando video? I saw a video from LiveUFPV where he has the new hardware update, which seems to really improve the Fusion performance. I'm skeptical that a firmware update is going to substantially improve the performance. I just don't think that I don't think that really happens. It can slightly improve the performance, but it's not going to make a night and day difference. Yeah. Yeah, UAV Tech says, folks don't really understand how much more popular Betaflight is than anything else. UAV Tech, do you have any way to quantify that? Like, Betaflight devs say that based on their website stats and downloads, they think that the Betaflight user base is in the single-digit hundreds of thousands of users. How many people are using KISS? Anyway. That's hilarious that a 3-year-old video of mine is beating Steele's. You know what? Honestly, that video is so freaking old. I should just take it down. You know, it's Steele's video should really be on top. Anyway. Okay, I got some super chats coming in, and we're coming to the end of the stream, so let me make sure I get those out of the way. Dougie FPV, thanks for $10. JB, one of your videos really helped me. Thank you, Dougie, for your $10. TR, thanks for $2. Marley Lepo, thanks for 20 Norwegian kroner. Any suggestions on F7 board? Marley, all of my product suggestions are at www.fpvknowitall.com. I have a section there for best quadcopter parts, and in there is flight controllers. These are my recommended flight controllers. There are other good flight controllers that are not on this list, but these are a few that I recommend. Marley, thank you for the kroner. I would suggest going there. Peter Rossbond sent $50. Thank you, Peter. That's a massive donation. He says, no pressure. I hope I can answer your question, Peter. I run into a weird issue with Betaflight GPS Rescue disarming the quad and it drops to the ground. Any experience with that? Yeah, Peter, the issue is Betaflight has a parameter where if the quad is too close to the home position, it will not activate GPS Rescue. The default value is 100 meters. You must be at least 100 meters away from the home position to activate the GPS Rescue, or it just disarms itself. So then the question, Peter, is why does it do that? iNav requires you to have a compass. And because iNav knows that you have a working compass, iNav knows which direction the quad is facing when you activate the return to home. Betaflight assumes that you don't have a compass. If you have a compass, it will use it, but it doesn't require you to have a compass, and it doesn't really trust the compass. And the reason is that on the racing and freestyle quads that Betaflight users are typically using, the compass is usually really noisy because the compass is so close to all the other electronics. Like a Betaflight user is usually not going to have their compass up on a mast. So Betaflight is like, yeah, we don't trust the compass. So then how does the quadcopter know which direction it's facing? The way it does that is through the GPS system. When the GPS the GPS unit has a heading a heading parameter, and it uses the location. It basically integrates location to get the heading. So here we're here, and then we're here. We know we're moving this direction. Okay. The problem with that is that with GPS only and no compass, let's say you're flying this direction and you stop. Well, now the heading still points that direction. But then you yaw 180 and face the other direction. Well, the GPS has no way of knowing that you rotated on the yaw axis. So the heading still points the wrong direction. And what the Betaflight devs are worried about is that you'll be close to yourself or close to some object. You'll activate return to home, and the quadcopter will go, I'm heading home, and it'll go the wrong direction. Now, it'll immediately figure out, oh, crap, I'm not facing that direction. The heading will update. But the problem is that it may fly for 10 meters before it updates, and it may do some damage. So, Betaflight says, look, if you're too close to the home position, we're not going to activate GPS rescue because we don't want you to fly into your own head, basically. So, the answer is don't activate GPS rescue when you're closer than 100 meters to the home position. Or use iNav. Dougie FPV, thanks for $2. TinyHawk S, Total Beast. Redbeard the Pilot, thanks for $2. Any updates on the JBF7? No updates at this time. I think we've ordered the first order, but it hasn't come in yet. Carl Howard, thanks for $5. Thanks so much for helping me through my first build. Do you bother cleaning flux after soldering? Carl, I believe the correct way to clean flux is with alcohol and a cotton swab. That's how I see the pros do it on the YouTubes. I use no clean flux, and so unless there's just like a shitload of it on the board, I often don't clean it. If you're using acidic flux, you definitely should clean it, but I like to use no clean flux so I can be lazy. Mad Hatter FPV is asking for suggestions on motors. Mad Hatter, again, I would suggest you go to fpvknowitall.com. I have a section there for motors. The current motors that I'm recommending, 3B Hobby training motor is a good budget motor. 3B Hobby racing motor, 3B Hobby 2207. And then, of course, at the top of the line, we've got the F60. The Zing motor, very, very good motors. I got to get the, oh, good, the JB, where's the, why is the JB 2208 not on there? I got to get that on there. I have a new 2208 motor. Okay. Swede777 says, thank you for $5 in the super chat. My T16 Pro gives me a storage warning, bad radio data, and resets all the data when I try using OpenTX. Swede, are you connecting to OpenTX on the PC? Maybe it's screwing it up. When you say when you try using OpenTX, I want to know more about what that means. Swede777, I probably am going to end the live stream before we figure this out, so message me privately and let's figure it out. Message me on Facebook. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, guys, it's coming up on 10 o'clock. It's been 2 hours. Thank you so much for showing up for the live stream. The next live stream will be Sunday, a week from yesterday at 1 p.m. My live streams are Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Videos this week. Videos coming out this week on the channel. Well, gosh, I'm going to work as hard as I can to get this Byte Frost video out as fast as I can, but I'm not going to go so fast that I do a terrible job of it. I'm going to make good content, which takes time. Working on Byte Frost. This pile of stuff behind me, this is all out on my desk because I was taking pictures of it. I'm doing a giveaway over on my Patreon. I would do a monthly giveaway where I just basically go through all the stuff that I've gotten for review that I'm not going to use, and I give it away. We got a Tyrannus X-Lite Pro, we got an EV200D, and this is a quadcopter of mine that I beat up, but it still flies good, and I'm throwing in some spare motors and a spare frame just in case anybody feels bad about it. So that's over on my Patreon. You can join my Patreon down in the video description for as little as $2 a month if you feel like I've earned it. Also, this week I'm working on the iFlight. I've got the iFlight Nazgul and the iFlight Sidora. They're two iFlight ready-to-fly quads that are really freaking good, and I'm looking forward to getting them up. And maybe I will finally get to this review of the Beta FPV HX115, which Beta FPV sent me like a month ago and I just haven't gotten to. Sorry, Beta FPV. Please don't hate me. That's going to do it. I'm going to sign off here. You guys have a great week, and I will see you on the YouTubes. Happy flying, everybody.